Glad to be here in London. Today, I'm going to share a transformation story. It's unlike any other story that you have heard in this space. It's a narrative about cultural change, a change driven by tech, data, and ultimately machine learning and AI. Now, I got to tell you that not many of us are lucky enough to have this experience in professional life, and I'm lucky enough to stand here and say that not only I'm experiencing this change, this foundational shift happening in the industry, but I get to lead that within Nielsen company. I'm going to discuss why Nielsen Data Science had to fully embrace cloud, open source, and Spark, and partner with Databricks, which we're going to talk about in detail towards the end of the session, and how we are benefiting from this transformation. To give you a context, Nielsen is about, I think we're getting up to 100 years now in terms of the company founded was in 1920, I think in the early 20s, right before, after World War I. And since then, we have done amazing things, and Nielsen is very well known. I don't know, here, we're the inventor of market share. That metric that everybody uses, we are inventor of that. And just a secret here, the key is the denominator, the size of the denominator, what you put down there, that's more important. We have done amazing work, unknown, but for folks, maybe some of folks I know, Ali, I don't know if Ali is here, he knows about this, is the star schema. Our data played a critical role in development of star schema. But anyway, I'm not going to talk about that. What I want you guys to have the key takeaway from this session is, if there's one, we embraced machine learning and AI, and it helped us. Hopefully, you'll see how it helped us and what benefits we got. And more importantly, how it changed our culture within data science organization. And we are incredibly proud of this. So first, I'm going to talk a little bit about Nielsen. I don't know if all of you guys are familiar with what we do. Give a context about our products, our clients, our markets. And then I'll discuss our AI-first strategy and why data science has to embrace and adapt to that strategy. And finally, we'll talk about the transformation and the role of Databricks in that transformation. We have two businesses, Watch business, which is basically a media measurement business, and Buy, which is retail measurement. And in Watch, we measure all audiences, all media, about 50+ countries. The key metric is ratings. I think most of I walked in, some people recognize Nielsen by ratings. And it is important metric we report. We report on who is watching or who is listening. We track audio. It can be by demographics, by target, can be lifestyle target, can be shopping target, psychographics target. When they're watching is important, time of the day, it's important metric for advertiser. What they're watching, the content, if it's news, sports, or entertainment, where, in home, outside. It's becoming increasingly important for marketers where they want to target advertising. And finally, how many, reach and frequency, which are very, very important in terms of volumes. This measurement we have, as I said, in 59 countries. Now, how our clients are using this data set? This is very foundational data set based on which buyers and sellers trade advertising. It creates an environment upon which the right advertising can be purchased against the content. On the buy side, we equip fast-moving consumer goods, manufacturers and retailers with high-quality market share and sales performance information, both for online and offline channels, and report what's been bought, where it's been bought, when, and why they're buying it. So we cover the whole 360 degrees of a consumer purchase journey in the buy side. And our measurement and analytics are embedded in clients' operating disciplines to help them make decisions faster, quicker, to solve their business problems. And in the buy side, we measure about 100+ markets. I know the scope is very large, and we track, hypermarkets where we get point of sale data, as well as tabletops in the developing or emerging markets like Asia, Latin America, and Africa. Let's talk about our clients. Our Fortune 500 clients are media companies, advertisers, agencies, manufacturers, and retailers. You can see that both on the buy side and the watch side. These clients use our data for insights, as well as to run their businesses. We are both the report cards as well as the navigation beacons of what comes next. Although we collect our own data, and we collect a lot of them, as we discussed, we're increasingly partnering with a lot of other companies, retailers, tech platforms as well. And you'll hear more about our partnership. We are big on partnerships. And we are not only increasing partnering, we are also increasingly partner-led, which is important. And we love this space. We love where we are in terms of openness and democratization of the data. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. We like to say at Nielsen that every day is a big data day in Nielsen. And partly because every day we get billions of transactions across 100+ countries. And on a given day, we'll see 15,000 new products and services that we have to code, classify, and enrich that data and make it part of our reference data set, which is 50+ million and growing every day. So we have a lot of data, but we are not kidding ourselves. We are moving into a world where we are seeing the velocity and the size of the data is increasing exponentially. And so that's one of the reasons we had to get to the AI-first strategy, which I'm going to talk about next. What is this strategy? It's simply put, we are trying to solve our business challenges and opportunities with machine learning and AI. So it's kind of our default setting. And we are having great success, and we'll show some results through the work that we are doing with Databricks. For this strategy, there are basically 4 frameworks we are using. The first one is cloud, open source, and mobile. Massive computational power of cloud, innovation around open source, and Nielsen's ability to use all-pervasive mobile devices to collect data, maybe speech, location, images, and other types of data sets, are becoming very powerful and important for us to activate our strategy. And we're doing it very successfully right now. Digitization of data collection end-to-end. It is important to digitize the whole supply chain when we collect the data. And this is our ground truth. This is our Nielsen data, which we call, folks in the data science world here, for this crowd, we call label data. It's labeled because we go and we walk into the store in China or in Brazil or in Belarus, wherever it may be, and we take pictures of the shelves. And we use those images through OCR and classify. So we actually validate and verify every data that we collect. And there's a lot of metadata around that, which is very powerful. Number 3 is we actually activate this data, use this data to train other type of data sets. It can be set-top box data in media. It can be point of sale. It can be other image databases, reference databases, whatever you got. But that label data is very powerful for us. And finally, we're using machine learning and AI to automate data pipelines and other business processes to make things efficient. Now I'm going to talk about our transformation. So given this strategy, we had to move fast. our Nielsen data science organization is about 1,000 plus globally. And yep, it's 1,000 data scientists that we had to move them, bring them all along. It was a massive change. And we started this journey in the second half of 2016, and it's still ongoing. Now, to set the baseline for you all, we were great in what we are doing. We had the terrific and one of the best modeling, data science exercises or algorithms in the marketplace. We have great technology and processes. However, we realized the volume of amount of data that was coming our way, we had to get ahead of that, that revolution coming, which started, frankly, 10 years back. And we got ready. We got ready fast. Let me walk through the problems that we're trying to solve. First problem was easy. I think the folks, data scientists in this room, you could attest to this. The easy access to the data was perhaps the single most challenge we are facing. It was based, the access to was based on whom you knew, the power of your network, and that was highly correlated with the tenure in the company. People who have been in the company for longer had more access to the data. And there was a lot of tribal knowledge. I can see people smiling. And I know that we have all been in those situations. And that was, I think, number one challenge. Number two is working with the big data. Our world involved scouring a lot of data sets in disparate systems. And they were in multiple servers, in multiple countries, multiple systems. There were no metadata. Issues of scale required workarounds, manual partitioning of the data and processes. Jobs would take days. Performance was an issue. You could imagine performance was an issue in this setup. Manual partitioning and workarounds meant progress was slow. We were using SAS, and toggling between SAS, SQL, Netezza, and Excel was error-prone. It took a long time, and they were prone to errors. R&D, the team has been focused on R&D, and by the time R&D went to the production, that was a long cycle time. And some of you guys know we would do the R&D in SAS or other software, and that has to be rewritten by application developers or engineering team by Java or C++. So there are a lot of rewrites, errors. The errors could not be produced on both sides. I think some of you guys can relate to this problem. Computing power, we didn't have enough computing power to do this, so we always had to kind of build workarounds. And some people knew how to build workarounds, amazing, even in those situations. Manual, because we were using a lot of this proprietary software, which means that, and including the pipelines, so every process had, there was a lot of manual task involved. And finally, I think it was a culture of silos, manual work and dependencies, frankly. That's where it was. And faced with these challenges, many of which created tough workflows as well as culture, we believed that the only way to solve this problem was through tech. And we doubled down on tech, frankly. 2 years back, we did this. We doubled down on tech, and I think it was one of the best, or perhaps it is the only decision we could have made during that time. And we made that decision. And we live in a very, very, very different world today. Here is how it looks like. Today, all our data sits on the cloud. We have 2 parts of the world. Our watch data sits on AWS, and buy, which is retail data, cannot sit on AWS for a reason you guys know. It sits on Azure. We work with both of them. We have largely transitioned from what I call proprietary software to open source across the data science organization. First, cloud and open source democratize data access throughout the organization. And we actually really believe in these principles to the core. Put simply, Proprietary approaches are perishable. They have use-by date, and we have learned that hard way. Combination of cloud and Spark addresses the issues of manual partitioning and workarounds. And Python, with its libraries, as well as Notebook, now we could seamlessly work in this environment, and data scientists like it. The good news right now is it's not only data science. We have data science, engineering, as well as application development. They're sitting on the same stack. So you can imagine the level of collaboration has increased, and the performance scale and the speed has improved. We even now consider ourselves in the company that data is an enterprise asset because we have better metadata around the data. So we are getting into a place where we could start calling data as an enterprise asset. We are not there yet, but we're getting there. Nielsen is relentless in studying consumer behavior and collect information on them. We decided early in the process that we're going to focus on one thing. We want to be best. We want to build the best algorithm and through machine learning and AI to understand consumer behavior. And we'll partner with folks who can get us there faster. And as I said, we are big in partnerships. Very, very big. It's a big word for us in Nielsen because we believe in team sport. We believe that we cannot play ourselves. We have to partner with folks who do this thing better than what we do. So frankly, this is where Databricks gives us an advantage. They are helping us to activate this strategy. Now, don't get me wrong, we have a lot of Spark ninjas in the company. But if I need the best Spark, I would rather go to people who invented Spark. You know, I have to talk to Matei, Ali, and Reynolds. These guys are around here. Yeah, I mean, they are all here. So these are who invented Spark. So we look to them to really innovate around the Spark. And our goal is to use it to our advantage. More importantly, now I have data science. They're 100% focused on solving the hardest and thorniest problems, our business problems, with machine learning and AI. Using framework like some of the frameworks you see, TensorFlow, PyTorch, and the teams are activating Nielsen-labeled data to deploy machine learning and AI for the clients. And finally, the impact of using Gits, an orchestration tool, in your development and deployment has further reduced the cycle time and increased performance. I want to quickly share a typical data science pipeline, what it looks like at Nielsen. And we have several of them. This is like an atypical, right? So you could actually see how this might work in some of your organizations as well. The first is a collection pipeline, which is a data collection platform. And we have three types of data. We have our data, which is talked about. The second is input data. This is a data we usually need to match, link, classify, predict, or cluster, or whatever you want to do with it. It can be set-top box. It can be any data, location data. It can be images, speech, and the data that clients have, and we can use ourselves as well. And the third is a metadata, which is more of a derivative of our label data. It's an abstraction, and that data is extremely powerful. This data gets fed into what we call learning platform, and this is a platform where data science and data engineers sits together. And this is what I would call mostly the Nielsen brain, and this is what we see more of an integration of data science and data engineering on that platform, and finally the product. So what we talked about is we explained our AI first strategy. We talked about our transformation. Now I want to shift the gear and talk a little bit about Databricks and how they are helping us in this journey. We partnered with Databricks in 2016 to democratize the use of Spark across the organization. And right now, about 80% of data scientists of 1,000 plus are using Spark, which is managed by Databricks. The benefits are huge and significant, and I'm pretty sure you're hearing a lot of that, but I'm going to tell you how Nielsen is benefiting from Databricks. In addition to the performance and speed, we don't have to worry about spinning clusters up and down and manage and all those workarounds. That's a huge benefit for data scientists because now they can really focus on building models instead of worry about the infrastructure and pipelines. So I would say Databricks is helping us to accelerate our innovation. The workarounds rewrites have decreased, collaboration has increased, and we love their Python support. We continue to use Databricks for a diverse set of tasks. And I think I was talking to KK earlier as well. We are finding, we are doing a lot of ETLs, very, very complex ETLs. We call it ETLs on steroids on the buy side. I mean, I was very surprised by the complexity that Databricks is solving us on the buy side on ETLs. And we are also testing out, doing some work on MLflow and Delta as well. So the good news here is there's a lot of new tools coming up, and we continue to test and incorporate in our businesses and day-to-day work. So let me talk about the impact. And so in the results, the results are big. You saw the results, they're right there, okay. So there are two core algorithms that we are using. One is pattern recognition. The impact, you see the impact, it reduced, the performance reduced from 12 hours to 30 minutes. That was a 24x improvement in performance. It's huge, it's big. Viewer assignment, which moved from 1 week to less than 2 hours, that's about, I think, 80+x improvement. These are big, big improvements. If you think about 80 data scientists working and put this improvement on top of that, it's a huge multiplier effect. Anyway, I won't wrap up, but in the end of the day, you see that how it changed the culture. If you imagine all the changes that's happening. Finally, I want to wrap this slide with a couple of statements. One is, what are we doing next? We are accelerating on our strategy, but we are also taking the data science, machine learning deployment into production pipelines, along with trying to move them to mostly to CI and CD principles. So I think right now our challenge is to move them into production, and that's where we are focused on. So as I said in the beginning, this is a story of a cultural change of Nielsen data science, how cloud, open source, and partners like Databricks are helping us to change. Let me finish with a quote from Ben Horowitz, of Andreessen Horowitz, who is one of the investors. And Ben said, quote, "Nielsen is the grandfather of data science, as they have been doing data science long before we started calling the function data science," unquote. And I think Ben is right. I'll leave you with a quick story as why this is so important, why this is so important for us. Look at the different industry, like a music industry. Big music lost when it tried to sell whole CDs, whole album in a CD, because consumers wanted digital singles. And fast forward today, and you see incredibly successful businesses, companies like Spotify, that allows consumer to create its own music experience. Guess what? That music experience is powered by metadata. There's a lot of underlying metadata that powers that experience through machine learning and AI. Nielsen powers that metadata through Gracenote, which is a company we bought 2 years back. We are very excited about that because we are helping democratizing music. And we feel that we have the opportunity, based on what you heard today, the story, to do the same for media and retail. Over 100 countries, and it's going to be fun. With that, let me wrap up. Thanks for your time, and have a great day.